I'm Ben Meiselas from the MeidasTouch network. Just when you thought Donald Trump couldn't go lower, he did. I mean, don't think that. There's no depths to this sicko's depravity. Donald Trump just went on a radio interview with Mark Levin, a MAGA extremist propagandist who just lies to his audience each and every day. And during this interview, Trump called Special Counsel Jack Smith a terrorist. I'm going to play you this clip, but the one thing I want you to reflect on as well, again, you have Donald Trump attacking a federal prosecutor who's investigating Donald Trump's crimes, calling him a terrorist, attacking Jack Smith's family. By the way, this is an independent act of criminal conduct here that I think Special Counsel Jack Smith will not just be charging Donald Trump with, but ultimately when this evidence that Donald Trump is basically just providing at this point to Jack Smith, just delivering on a silver platter, Jack Smith's going to play all this stuff in his opening statement to the jury, and it's going to be absolutely crippling to Donald Trump. More on that in a moment as well about opening statements using Donald Trump's words, but I want to play for you this horrific radio interview of Donald Trump on the Mark Levin show. Play the clip.
This prosecutor should resign. He's got a conflict, my prosecutor.
This Jack
His name
Smith.
is Jack Smith. I wonder what his name was before Smith. I don't know. Maybe it was Smith, but it seems like such a nice name, Jack Smith. He is a terrorist. He is a Trump hater. His best friends are Weissman and all of these characters.
Yeah.
Lisa Monaco at the Justice Department, one of the top officials.
Deputy Attorney General.
This is a disgraceful situation. He should resign. His wife hates Trump, probably even beyond him. And his wife has a sister who openly hates it like a level that you can't even believe. And this is the man that's going to give me fair.
So the clip you just heard, I think Special Counsel Jack Smith is absolutely going to play during opening statements of Donald Trump because it shows the crime. It shows obstruction. That conduct that you see right there, even leaders in mob boss leaders don't go and attack the special prosecutor publicly and so brazenly. That's all a part of Donald Trump's strategy because it's not even a legal strategy anymore. He's made the calculation based on all the crimes he's committed that he is going to be prosecuted. He's going to be convicted. What transpired with the Trump organization in the prosecution by the Manhattan District Attorney's Office was just step one. It just showed how weak and feeble Donald Trump's lawyers and defenses are. They got crushed in that case. The real cases are going to happen if and when the Manhattan District Attorney indicts Donald Trump, when Donald Trump goes to the civil fraud trial where New York Attorney General Letitia James seeking at least $250 million from Donald Trump and the Trump Organization, where I think a jury's going to clearly rule against Trump. That case goes to trial in October. When Special Counsel Jack Smith eventually criminally prosecutes Trump, I think we'll see indictments. I predicted April, May. People like Preet Bharara, former United States Attorney from the Southern District of New York, predict it's going to happen earlier than me. But Special Counsel Jack Smith is going to play that and say, look, this is a criminal. This is what mafia thugs do. And this is what he did. It's a crime. You're just going to listen to it. And here's the post that he makes on his social media platforms. One of the interesting things, this isn't being talked about enough. In the Proud Boys seditious conspiracy trial currently going on in federal court, in the opening statements, one of the things the prosecutor showed the jury was Donald Trump's statements. Statements that he made on the ellipse, as well as statements that Trump made during a presidential debate with President Joe Biden, where Donald Trump told the Proud Boys to stand back and stand by, demonstrating how Trump was involved in the seditious conspiracy with the Proud Boys. It's part of the conspiracy. That was played during the opening statements in the Proud Boys seditious conspiracy trial because the Department of Justice is starting to test out what they're going to do ultimately when they charge Donald Trump and what they're going to show the jury and see how that works. But again, it's very unprecedented. You have Donald Trump threatening the special counsel, his wife, his family. You have Donald Trump. Here's just one of the posts that he's made dozens of posts like this in the past few days, attacking Jack Smith, his family, his wife, his friends. This was a particularly odd one I want to show you right now. Trump goes, the special prosecutor assigned to the Get Trump case, Jack Smith, is a Trump-hating thug whose wife is a serial and open Trump hater, whose friend and other family members are even worse, And as a prosecutor in Europe, according to Rick Grinnell, put a high government official in prison because he was a Trump-positive person. Smith is known as an unfair savage and is best friends with the craziest Trump haters, including Lisa Monaco, who runs Injustice. The Boxes scam is a hoax. I mean, his rantings and ravings of a complete and total lunatic. One of the things to note here is that Donald Trump is saying in this statement that the reason that Special Counsel Jack Smith prosecuted an individual who was a warlord by the name of Saleem Mustafa, who killed, tortured, and maimed a number of people in Kosovo. And Special Counsel Jack Smith, when he was a prosecutor at The Hague in the Kosovo Specialist Chambers, successfully prosecuted and convicted Saleem Mustafa. Saleem Mustafa would torture, kill, maim, rape his victims, and then he would harvest their organs. That's who Donald Trump is referring to as a Trump-positive person, and saying that Jack Smith prosecuted Saleem Mustafa because Saleem Mustafa is a Trumper. Saleem Mustafa's MAGA. Well, malignant narcissist, yes, but there probably is some truth, not to Jack Smith prosecuting Saleem Mustafa, but Saleem Mustafa and authoritarians are pro-Trumpers. They are pro-MAGA. They don't support democracy. They support violence. They support torture. They support killing. They support heinous and despicable crimes against humanity, which is why I've been saying from day one that Jack Smith is the perfect prosecutor for this job because he has prosecuted warlords. And Donald Trump has that mentality and thinks like that and acts like that and worships warlords. That's how Donald Trump sees them. You know, you compare and contrast Donald Trump's conduct here, obstructing, concealing, mutilating documents. Compare it to President Biden. You know, I take very seriously the reporting that there was classified records that were found in President Biden's garage, as well as in an office in the University of Pennsylvania, where President Biden, at the time as vice president, had an office where he taught certain classes there. There's a small number of documents. It's very different than the thousands of records, tens of thousands of records that Donald Trump intentionally stole. There is no evidence or allegations of any intent with the small group of documents that were in President Biden's facilities. Also, the Donald Trump documents, there were hundreds of top secret, sensitive, compartmented information documents that were so top secret, have to be viewed in SCIFs, sensitive, compartmented information facilities. That's how highly classified it is. There's no evidence that the documents that Biden had have to be viewed in SCIFs at all, or were those types of documents. The documents that Trump allegedly stole intentionally include nuclear secrets, secrets about Iranian weapon systems and Chinese weapon systems that Trump was likely using transactionally. But let's not forget, folks, that Trump wasn't being charged, or he hasn't been charged yet, but he hasn't been being investigated for crimes that relate to the classification status of the documents. We've been saying that a lot here on the MeidasTouch Network. Classification is not the issue. It makes it a little bit more egregious when you're talking about sensitive, compartmented information. The stakes are far much higher. But if Donald Trump innocently, mistakenly, or even negligently took the records and then returned the records, there's no crime there. It's a mistake, and he returns the records, and we could say it was sloppy and unfortunate, but we would not be calling that a criminal conduct here, right? It isn't. But what is the criminal conduct, though, that he's being investigated for is concealment. Intentional concealment. Intent is an element of the crime, the mens rea, the mental state. So intentional concealment, mutilation, destruction, violations of the espionage. Like, how are these documents being used, concealed or destroyed? And obstruction. And when we're talking about obstruction, with Donald Trump, what we are talking about is that once these documents were identified, he lied repeatedly, had people submit false affidavits to the Department of Justice, moved the documents around, continued to lie. I mean, for over 18 months, until finally, after getting a false declaration from a Trump lawyer on June 3rd of 2022, the DOJ said, you stop lying to us. You keep on lying. If you just return the documents, isn't an issue. So they got a search warrant. They executed. They found that he stole like 11,000 other documents that were there, in addition to all the other documents that the Department of Justice and the National Archives and the FBI had discovered. And then when you're talking about the obstruction of justice, I mean, you're looking at statements like this. I mean, President Biden, through his own lawyer, said, look, we're cooperating with the Department of Justice. We're cooperating with the Special Counsel. It is what it is. Likely sloppy, but you're talking about a small group of documents. There's no intent. There's no criminal conduct. And it's being handled professionally, being dealt with immediately, being addressed transparently. Versus these statements, calling the prosecutor a terrorist, attacking the prosecutor's wife. These concepts should be and used to be so anathema to our legal system, to our democracy. But the Republican Party has transmuted into the MAGA Republican Fascist Party, and statements like this, the media doesn't even really report. I mean, other than in MeidasTouch Network, have you really been hearing anywhere that Donald Trump called the prosecutor a terrorist, or that Donald Trump is likely openly praising Saleem Mustafa and calling him a Trumper and saying that's why Jack Smith went after him, or calling Jack Smith an absolute savage? No. I mean, instead the media wants to attack Biden, or even when you have great numbers showing inflation's decreasing, what does the New York Times do? They show some cover of like Republicans celebrating. It's like they have nothing to do with it. President Biden is the reason that he addressed the systemic inflation and started lowering it. So the whole constructs are out of whack. But that's why we're focused on it here at the MeidasTouch Network. That's why we have this community that you're a part of, where we call this out, we talk about it, we don't ignore it. How am I supposed to cover my eyes and close my ears to a former individual who was a president who engaged in this heinous, despicable attempt to overthrow our democracy, attacking a special prosecutor who's investigating it and calling the prosecutor a terrorist, a savage, and attacking the prosecutor's wife and family and friends? I'm not going to ignore it here. Can't ignore it here. I'm Ben Meiselas from the MeidasTouch Network. Hit the subscribe button on our way to 1 million subscribers thanks to your incredible support. And check us out at patreon.com/MeidasTouch, patreon.com/MeidasTouch. You will love the exclusive content we have Patreon, but most importantly, help grow this independent media platform. That's where you can do it, by going to patreon.com/MeidasTouch. Until next time, I'm Ben Meiselas.
At MeidasTouch, we are unapologetically pro-democracy, and we demand justice and accountability. That's why we're spreading our message to Convict 45. That's right, gear up right now with your Convict 45 tees and pins at store.MeidasTouch.com. That's store.MeidasTouch.com.